Welcome to Barbara's Bulletin, the podcast where we bring you the latest news and updates from around the world. I'm your host, Barbara, and I'm excited to share today's top stories with you. We're starting off with a significant development in the ongoing conflict between Russia and Ukraine. According to reports, Russian President Vladimir Putin has announced that Russia is ready to continue observing the central limits of the New START nuclear arms reduction treaty with the United States for one more year after it expires in 2026. This move comes as a surprise, given the tensions between the two nations, and has sparked a range of reactions from international leaders. In related news, Russia and Ukraine have traded blame for deadly overnight strikes, with both sides accusing each other of launching attacks that have resulted in civilian casualties. The situation remains volatile, and diplomatic efforts are ongoing to try to find a peaceful resolution to the conflict. It's also worth noting that Putin has warned that the situation in the area of strategic stability is deteriorating and that Russia is ready to respond to any new threats with force. This statement has raised concerns among international observers who are closely watching the developments in the region. As we delve deeper into this story, it's essential to consider the complexities of the conflict and the various perspectives involved. We'll be exploring the implications of Putin's announcement and the ongoing tensions between Russia and Ukraine in more detail throughout the show. For now, let's take a brief look at some other news-making headlines today. In addition to the developments in Russia and Ukraine, there are reports of heightened nuclear rhetoric and increased demand for iodine pills in Russia, as well as ongoing diplomatic efforts at the United Nations. We'll be right back with more of today's top news on Barbara's Bulletin. Welcome back to Barbara's Bulletin. We're glad you're still with us as we dive into our middle segment, where we explore a developing story that's making waves globally. Today, we're focusing on a tense situation between Russia and several European countries, including Estonia and Poland. Reports have emerged of Russian fighter jets violating Estonian airspace, prompting an emergency meeting at the United Nations Security Council. The incident occurred when 3 Russian MiG-31 fighters crossed into Estonian airspace over the Gulf of Finland, according to NATO officials. Estonian Foreign Minister Margus Tsahkna described the incident as part of a broader pattern of escalation by Russia, both regionally and globally, and emphasized that this behavior requires an international response. However, the Kremlin has denied any wrongdoing, with spokesman Dmitry Peskov stating that Russia's military operates strictly within the confines of international law, including those pertaining to flights. Peskov also described Estonia's version of events as empty, unfounded, and a continuation of the country's utterly unstoppable policy of escalating tensions and provoking a confrontational atmosphere. This incident comes on the heels of another controversy, where Poland accused Russia of sending drones into its airspace during strikes on Ukraine. The Polish government described this as an act of aggression, while Moscow denied any involvement. The United States has weighed in on the situation, with President Donald Trump vowing to defend Poland and the Baltic states in the event of further Russian escalation. Trump stated, "Yeah, I would support European allies if hostilities intensified," and expressed disapproval of the airspace violation in Estonia, saying, "We don't like it." As the situation continues to unfold, NATO ambassadors are set to hold talks on Tuesday to discuss the airspace violation under Article 4 of the Alliance's treaty. This mechanism allows for urgent consultations and potentially joint decision or action on behalf of NATO. We'll be keeping a close eye on this developing story and providing updates as more information becomes available. It's essential to consider multiple perspectives and wait for all the facts before drawing conclusions. As always, we strive to provide balanced and unbiased reporting here on Barbara's Bulletin. Stay tuned for our final story of the day, right here on Barbara's Bulletin. Welcome back to Barbara's Bulletin. We're closing out today's show with a look at the latest developments in UK immigration policy. Reform UK, led by Nigel Farage, has announced plans to scrap the indefinite leave to remain status for migrants, which currently allows them to live and work in the UK permanently after 5 years. Under the proposed changes, all migrants with ILR would be required to reapply for new visas every 5 years, effectively ending their permanent settlement in the UK. The party also plans to bar non-British citizens from accessing welfare benefits, citing a potential saving of $234 billion over several decades. Now, it's worth noting that this figure has been contested by some experts, and Labour has pointed out that the estimate came from a report that was later disputed by the Office for Budget Responsibility. The government has also responded to Reform UK's plans, calling them a gimmick, and stating that they are already consulting on restricting migrants' access to welfare. Reform UK's policy chief, Zia Yusuf, has argued that the changes would bring the UK in line with other countries, such as the United Arab Emirates, where migrants make up a significant proportion of the labour force. However, critics have raised concerns about the potential impact on hundreds of thousands of people who could lose their settled status and be forced to leave the country. As always, we want to present a balanced view of this complex issue. While some may argue that Reform UK's plans are necessary to control immigration and reduce the burden on public services, others will see them as too harsh and potentially damaging to the economy and social cohesion. Ultimately, the debate around immigration policy is multifaceted and contentious, with no easy answers. As we close out today's show, we encourage our listeners to engage with the issues and consider the perspectives of all parties involved. That's all for today's Barbara's Bulletin. Remember to like, share, and subscribe, and until next time, stay engaged.